How often do you hear Democrats and Republicans in Congress or running for president talk about just how much they honor our vets? The reality is talk is cheap. There is a whole class of veterans from the Vietnam War which is being denied benefits for cancer and other ailments caused by Agent Orange.
We never really paid a lot of attention. They seemed to be a little dusty, but we didn't pay a lot of attention to it as we climbed all over the plains to do our jobs.
For a year, late 1965 to late 1966, Ronald Babcock helped load bombs, missiles, and ammunition on fighter jets on board the USS Ticonderoga, 7 days a week, often 20 to 30-hour stretches at a time. He never gave much thought to the dusty film on the aircraft and never stopped to consider that dust might be from Agent Orange, the herbicide used over Vietnam to defoliate the jungle in the fight against the Viet Cong.
We drank it, we bathed in it, we cooked in it, and we climbed all over the plains that flew through it.
In the years afterward, Babcock had heard about Agent Orange and its link to cancer.
In the past 10 years, I've had 9 different bladder cancer surgeries.
And then about 2 years ago, he read about the link to his particular form of cancer.
It dawned on me that, wait a minute, none of these illnesses run in my immediate family. Perhaps they're attached to contact with the herbicide called Agent Orange.
The Veterans Administration has been giving vets benefits for cancer caused by Agent Orange for years, but not veterans like Ronald Babcock. Why? Because his foot didn't actually touch the ground in Vietnam.
They're called Blue Water Vets, and there are about 90,000 of them who served on board naval vessels off the coast of Vietnam like the Ticonderoga. And veterans advocate Jerry Zivic has a theory.
Follow the money. And I think one of the policy decisions somewhere the VA decided that if they would pay veterans that served on the open seas, that perhaps they'd be exposing the United States to all kinds of liability.
Florida Senator Bill Nelson is trying to get Congress to do something about it.
Can anything be done about the VA's apparent reluctance to help these veterans?
I am co-sponsoring the bill that would add as a presumption that you did have exposure to Agent Orange if you were on a naval vessel within 12 miles of the coast.
To date, Nelson says the VA hasn't budged.
They've said to veterans, we'll come forth and give us the proof. You weren't on the land, give us the proof.
ABC 7 News reached out to the VA for comment, and in the statement we were told, quote, there is no consistent evidence to suggest that Blue Water Navy Vietnam veterans were at a higher or lower risk for cancer or other long-term adverse health effects associated with Agent Orange exposure. In the meantime, Ronald Babcock says he hopes he's around to see vets like himself get the benefits he believes they all deserve.
What impact has this had on your life?
Terrible. My health condition is, I'm lucky to be alive today. Very lucky.
We did ask Congressman Vern Buchanan to talk to us about what he is doing to push the legislation along. He's a co-sponsor, but we were told he is unavailable. We'll be back with our roundtable in just a moment.
Since 2004, Embracing Our Differences has used the power of art and education to promote diversity. One way it accomplishes this is through its annual outdoor exhibition of 45 billboard-sized works of art, each accompanied by an inspirational quote. Join us in creating a community that is inclusive for all, where differences are embraced and individuality is celebrated. We invite you to celebrate the voices and visions of diversity and inclusion at this year's exhibit at Sarasota's Island Park.
Attention, this is an important message for anyone who had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to their heart or lungs. Did your IVC filter move, break, or cause organ damage? The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications, such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, even death. If you or a loved one suffered serious complications, call IVC Filter Helpline now. You may be entitled to compensation. IVC filters are designed to prevent blood clots. If your IVC filter moved or broke and you suffered heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, or if a loved one died as a result, call IVC Filter Helpline today. Our network of experienced attorneys is ready to fight for you. You'll pay nothing unless there's a recovery in your favor. Call today for a free confidential consultation. Don't fight this alone. Call IVC Filter Helpline now.
please call 800-897-6764. That is 800-897-6764.
They're coming from Tampa, Fort Myers, even Orlando. They're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, because Sarasota Ford guarantees you our lowest price on every new Ford every day. Save on America's best-selling truck 39 years running, the Ford F-150, Fusions, Escapes, over 800 vehicles on site or online, all on sale. Buy with 0% for 60 months. And now get up to 2,000 trade assistance. That's why they're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, where 41 meets 301. SarasotaFord.com.
Joining us for more on Blue Water Vietnam vets and their fight is Jerry Zivic, a veterans advocate. Jerry, thanks for coming in tonight. Let me ask you this. I've done a lot of stories about the VA over the years, and every time I have asked them about a veteran who is seeking service connection for post-traumatic stress or whatever, the response has always been, you may have post-traumatic stress or another ailment, but it doesn't mean that you got it in Vietnam. And essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, then they're saying the same thing with this.
You're right. I think we all owe a tremendous debt to any veteran that served in any war or even a non-war for us. These people deserve the very best, and it's illogical thinking for the VA to look for a way to deny benefits instead of just award benefits. I don't think anybody would be jumping up and saying, you gave Joe Smith money when he served for our country. But so why are they denying them? I have no idea.
Well, you know, they did send us this statement, and they did do some research, and their conclusions, part of which we showed in our story, but they went on to say that it is impossible to determine whether Blue Water Navy personnel were exposed to Agent Orange associated by ingestion or dermal contact or inhalation from potable waters.
Well, I think there's no question that the U.S. government sprayed 20 million gallons of herbicide on Vietnam. Now, where did it all go? I mean, obviously there was runoff. Obviously there was wind. It could have been on a close air support aircraft. It could have been on the wings of that. It could have come from I said, on the wind. It could have come through the waters. You know, we're focusing right now always on the planes, but they use desalinization machines, and so they're taking that salt water, and nobody knows if they got the toxins out. And as Ron said in his interview, he bathed in it, they drank it, so it might not necessarily be from the planes or a combination.
Have other countries that were allied with us in Vietnam handled this situation differently?
Yes, Australia. They did a study, and they found that the servicemen that served on the seas had twice as much cancer as servicemen that actually served on the ground in Vietnam. So obviously there's something going on there.
Let me ask you this, because we looked up today the legislation that Bill Nelson is co-sponsoring in the House. There are over 300 co-sponsors of that legislation. So why isn't anything happening on the congressional level to basically say that if you were on board one of these ships off of Vietnam, you get the benefits?
You have all of these politicians that say, yes, we should pay, and yes, they're paying lip service. So the question is, all they have to do is raise their hand and say, yes, this is the new law. Everybody gets paid. So you would have to ask them why nobody's raising their hand and doing that.
Do you have any suspicion why?
Oh, as we were talking about, you might follow the money. It would cost the VA a large amount of money to pay these claims, because you'll have to go back to years and years of veterans that have applied and were wrongly denied. So they're going to apply. Then the VA, which is touting all of these numbers, we've reduced the backlog and there's almost nobody waiting. Well, then you'll have a large backlog again.
In many ways, is this an old story? Because members of Congress have always said that we support the veterans, where they wrap themselves in the flag. They're there for every event at the VFW, but our veterans, going back to the Vietnam era, have not always gotten the assistance and the benefits that they deserve.
Of course they're not getting it. Agent Orange actually goes back to the Korean War, too. So this is a long battle. We're talking about a 50-year battle to pay veterans what they deserve.
Now, have we talked about the types of cancer and the other ailments that are predominant in terms of these Blue Water vets, including Ronald. He has bladder cancer. How many times have you seen this in terms of the vets that you've been looking at?
You see it repeatedly. There are like 9 presumptive illnesses on Agent Orange, and if you have it, if you've been anywhere within 100 miles of Vietnam during the conflict, you should be paid. There's no reason to deny these claims.
Now, the VA has told us that they take these submissions on a case-by-case basis, and they're not going to turn around a veteran who needs assistance. What more can and should be done?
The VA just had, what I don't understand is, who does the VA work for? They work for the citizens of the United States of America. They work for the veterans. They're charged with the responsibility of policy and operation. So instead of creating a policy that's going to pay veterans, instead of creating an operation that's going to pay veterans, they've created a whole division, a whole area where we're not going to pay these Blue Water vets. When the Agent Orange Act was enacted, there was no carve-out for Blue Water vets. Anybody that was served in Vietnam was supposed to be paid. So what bureaucrat or what policy wonk created the idea that we're going to carve out and not pay Blue Water vets?
So is that the difference between a law being passed and then it goes to the agency and they're writing whatever regulations that they want?
Pretty much, and that's why I don't understand why the agency, which is has the policy to help veterans, is finding a way not to help veterans. Better, they should stretch the law to help people.
Now, we talked about that there are some 90,000 veterans that are in this situation. Do you have any idea how many there are on the Suncoast or in Florida?
I think I talked actually to one of the organizers of the Blue Water Vets, and he estimates that there are approximately 10,000 people in the Sarasota-Manatee area that served in the Navy.
And is there any organizing body who are trying to get these people together to apply pressure to the Congress or the VA to do something about this?
Well, you have this Blue Water Navy organization that's been working on this for years, but it's a volunteer group, and what needs to be done is everybody needs to get behind this, write letters to every congressman and say, you need to pay these vets. No reason for any delay.
Are you concerned that while the Congress debates this thing to death, that more and more vets are dying every day because of cancers that they may not be getting help in terms of combating?
Absolutely. These people are being denied money for housing, money for food. How many homeless veterans are there? And is this attributable to Agent Orange? I'm sure some of them are. And then there's a whole second generation. You have veterans that have children. Are these children that were exposed through their DNA, are they going to be compensated? That's a whole nother level of problems that's coming our way.
Right. And finally, how is Ronald doing these days?
Ronald is doing as well as can be expected. You know, every day is a gift for all of us, and hopefully he'll have many more days to come. But he's a great veteran, and if you would ask him, and if you would ask any of these veterans if they would serve again, I think all of them would come back and want to serve again. So we need to give them what they've given us.
And we'll have to leave it there. Jerry, thank you very much, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
Call right now to get your free Senior Care Compass ebook. Find out about the 5 best-kept secrets on financing senior care and assisted living.
Call now, 800-290-0352. 800-290-0352.
They care. They take the time to understand you, take the time to understand your case.
There's no better satisfaction to me than to see a client who is happy because of the job we've done for them.
It's really actually very comforting to know that there's someone that you've heard of and you're getting recommendations about that you can turn to when you have a problem.
I felt like I had a partner in this, and he was going to be by my side.
US Med has great news for anyone living with diabetes.
If you have Medicare, private insurance, or prescription drug coverage, US Med will ship a new glucose meter right to your home.
And shipping is free.
My new meter uses only a speck of blood, so it's less painful than my previous meter.
If you have Medicare, private insurance, or prescription drug coverage, you're covered with US Med. We're welcoming new patients, even if your current provider can't supply you anymore.
I don't even have to test on my fingers anymore. I can test on my hand or forearms, and it's more accurate than my old meter.
So call US Med today, and you'll have a choice of 2 great meters.
One that actually speaks your results, or a meter so small it fits in the bottle of strips.
Act now, and US Med will include a free prescription discount card. We'll also send you a free diabetes cookbook. This is your opportunity.
So call US Med today.
You'll be glad you did.
Welcome back. Scientology was under the spotlight last week. The father of Scientology's leader is now speaking publicly about his son, calling him ruthless. Just up the road from the Suncoast is Clearwater, is the spiritual headquarters of Scientology, and we spoke with former members who say that they lost their money, friends, and even their families to the church. Here is what you had to say. Mark Plummer writes, enforced disconnection exists in Scientology when Scientology declares someone is suppressive. Policy Directive 28, but one policy that orders all Scientologists to disconnect the person declared is not a choice to disconnect, it is mandatory. Carol Mergel writes, when any organized form of religion extorts large sums of money and teaches their subjects, if they do, they will evolve into greatness and so on and so on. Weak people are preyed upon, wealthy promoted. And David Mitchell writes, I feel sorry for the people who have lost their life, family, and friends to organizations like this. It is wrong. And immoral. They ruin lives and do nothing to help the community, yet they get tax-exempt status. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news at 7. And that is all the time we have for this evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Alan Cohn. Have a great night.